welcome back to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And today we're going to talk about the surprising victory that the Pittsburgh Steelers um, achieved on Sunday, beating Indianapolis Colts 27-20. It was actually a game that I'm just going to be flat out honestly that I really didn't think the Steelers would win. Just coming off the last two games that they played and showed, what they could do or what they did on the field. Um, but the Steelers, they pulled it out. And one of the things, you know, obviously you're going to be excited about the victory. So that's one thing. But then when I was able to, because actually I only seen like half the game. I was traveling at the time. But I actually went back and watched watched the game, watched the first half of the game that I didn't see, and then we rewatched the second half. And once you come down off the excitement and really kind of break things down, um, at the end of the day, it was all about the turnovers. I mean, the defense turned the Colts over 6 times, and that was a huge factor. Honestly, if I didn't tell you the score and you looked at the stats, you would probably say that the Colts won that game. But the turnovers were huge. The Steelers were +5. I think the Steelers had one turnover, and the Colts had 6. So they were +5 in the turnovers. And most NFL games, really most, I don't care if it's high school, college, if you're +5 in the turnovers, you're more than likely you're going to win that game. You're going to win that game, and that's what happened. But don't get me wrong. I'm not really trying to take nothing away from the Steelers because at the end of the day, a win is a win is a win, and it's very hard to win games in the NFL. So, with that said, let's just get to it, and let's talk about these grades. So, like I say, one of the things that I try to do is just be honest and don't let my fandom um kind of get in the way of me grade, making my grades and just saying, you know, well the Steelers won, so everything was perfect, which it wasn't. But with that said, let's get right to it. So let's go right to the quarterback. I thought Aaron Rodgers played a solid game. Nothing nothing outstanding, but I I think he was solid. He missed a couple of passes. Um, my only concern is I still feel like it's no downfield explosion plays, and I think it's two reasons for that. And I think the first reason is I don't think the offensive line is good enough to, or they don't really trust, or even Aaron Rodgers to that fact, really trust the offensive line to maybe hold on to the ball, to look deep and to take some deep shots. But also, I think Arthur Smith he realized that the offensive line is not really up to par. So he's schemed a lot of different things of as far as getting the ball out of Rogers' hands quick, going with the big package. And it seems like when the Steelers are doing that, running that big package, that's when it seems like we can run the ball. Um, you can hit some passes off of that, and it's been very successful for him. But it's just my only concern is when they're not in that, and it's more of just traditional, you know, 5 offensive linemen, and for them to make their blocks and all that stuff is not happening as much. But to be fair, those guys are still improving. They're still getting better. So we'll see. But Rodgers, I gave Rodgers a B. He went 25 of 35, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. Fairly solid in the game. Running backs, again, really didn't get a lot of opportunities. Did not. I mean, to be honest, the Steelers did not run the ball well. Did not run the ball well at all. And running backs, it's just volumes. I don't really care what running back you have. It's going to be hard to judge them off of, a few carries, 16 carries. That's going to be hard. And so I gave the running backs a C. I mean, Warren, he had 16 attempts, 31 yards, a 1.9 average, 2 touchdowns. So, that was a good thing for him, to see him get in the end zone. But got to be better. It definitely has to be better. And like I say, that to me, that's part of the fact of this offensive line is really not blocking the way that they probably should be, or at the level they should be at. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happened there. What we got here? We got Lucky. Oh man, they said that was a fraud team. Wow. Well, I really can't say too much about that. I mean, they I wouldn't say they're a fraud. I don't really think they were a fraud, but maybe they weren't as good as they had been hyped up to be. But I don't know. I don't know. So wide receivers. I gave the wide receivers a C. Again, Calvin Austin led them with 5 receptions for 56 yards, no touchdowns. DK Metcalf, I think he caught 2 balls for 6 yards, and that just can't happen. That just can't. I mean, this is the guy that they're paying close to $30 million to, and that just can't. That can't happen. That we need more production out of that wide receiver group. I'm gonna be honest. The tight end thing is cool, but I watched the Buffalo Kansas City game, and you got to do it. You got to do it with receivers in this league. And what's so crazy about it? Buffalo really don't have any good receivers, but Josh Allen is playing at so much of a high level that he makes those guys. He kind of force those guys to make plays because he's just playing at a high level. And yeah, and he actually uses his tight ends a lot, but he still I don't know. It's kind of hard to say with Josh Allen because he's a different type of he's a different type of quarterback. But regardless, I just think the Steelers really needed to upgrade the receiver room. They didn't. No trades were made, so we're gonna kind of roll with the guys they got, but we'll see. So I gave the receivers a C. Like I say, the numbers Metcalf's had that's unacceptable, and you're definitely not gonna win. You're definitely not gonna win with him only having that type of production. Boxing man say they are not what they records say they are. Well, I kind of agree with that. I ain't gonna really fuss with you on that one. Like I say, a lot of people will say Danny Dimes went back to being Danny Dimes. and you know that was really part of it. That was really part of it. So the tight ends again. Um, Junu Smith. I don't know what's going on with him. It seemed like it seemed like Fryermuth was definitely passed him up at this point, and he's going sliding down the pole. I don't know what's going on. Like he can't catch no more. Washington actually made a couple of good catches, and it was one catch. I mean, just not really a amazing catch, but for a guy his size to be athletic enough to kind of reach back from behind your body and pluck that ball out of the air, that was a a good catch. But Washington led the way, 4 receptions, 43 yards. I gave the tight ends a C. Again, really didn't do anything special. Um, Washington actually, he did his thing on the blocking. But I would just like to see this offense be way more explosive than what they are. I mean, you got one guy in DK Metcalf. Calvin Austin can be an explosive piece, but I just think with him, he really needs to be that third receiver, that slot guy. And when you match Austin up against a third team's corner or something, I like that matchup. I like that matchup, and I think that's a matchup more than not he can exploit and he can win that. Offensive line. This is going to be. I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Man, Curb, you tripping." But when I watch the film, and like I say, I'm not going. I try not to be a fan, and I try to be honest and really look at it and see what they're doing. And I'm gonna be honest, my grade may be a little harsh, but when I watch that film and to me we still have a Broderick Jones problem. Um, he's just inconsistent. He's 50-50. He's 50-50. Like, I mean, he'll do some good things, but then if you really just sit there and watch him, and if they didn't scheme the way they are, kind of scheming things around him, man, we would have a really issue because a lot of guys get by him. He have a lot of those watch out blocks. Um, Now in the run game, he's a mauler. He's not too bad in the run game. But what the crazy thing about it is he's getting better. If that sounds like I'm dogging him out, but he's getting better. So with that said, I can't I can't argue. I can't argue about that. But my issue I have, and I gave the offensive line a D. You gave up 3 sacks, but 38 yards rushing off 23 attempts, 1.7 average. I mean, come on. That's not gonna get it done. That's not gonna get it done. And like I say, it seemed like it's two offensive lines. When the Steelers go to that big package, they're very dominating. When they had that extra guard in there, but when it's just basically man on man and just being more of a traditional offensive line, I still think they struggle. And like I say, you take away those six turnovers, and no telling how this game looks. But I just have a issue with that. I have an issue with that, and we at some point they're gonna have to really keep working with these guys, and you know we'll see how it end up breaking down. But right now, that's the way I see it with this offensive line. And like I said, I'm not gonna give those guys no breaks. I'm not gonna give them no breaks, and they just gonna have to just keep plugging away. So offensive overall grade, I gave him a C. So I mean, the running game was really almost non-existent, and like I say, part of it is you got to get more than 16, 17 carries. That's the first thing. You got to run the ball more than that. But also you got to be more effective with that. And it's just crazy because like last week they actually gave him the carries and you see what for the most part Warren is playing fine, but he's not. They're not giving him the opportunities. And I don't really understand what's going on with that, but that's going to have to change. Now, let's go over to the defense, in which the last two games, it ain't no surprise. It ain't no surprise how we and felt about them. The last two games, this defense has been terrible. This defense has been terrible, and we have to see, if the Steelers can keep this up what they did. I do like some of the changes they made, but anyway, let's get to the edges. So guess what? TJ Watt showed up. I don't know where he's been. I don't know where he's been hiding, but he showed up, and Alex Highsmith showed up. And for that, I gave the edges an A. I mean, you know, Alex Highsmith, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and the edges as a whole had 8 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. So them guys, I mean, they did their thing. They did what you expect from them. Now it's just can they be consistent and keep that up and keep that going? Because when these guys don't get any pressure on a quarterback and they can sit back there all day, you get a Jordan Love game where you got a guy that's completing 20 balls in a row. That's crazy. That's crazy. So I gave those guys an A. I thought they played well. The defensive tackles again, when they're doing their thing, and if you watch the film, a lot of times they only really had 2 down linemen in the game. Uh, to me, it was more of a 4-3 look. 2 down linemen, 2 stand-up ends, and they had 3 backers. Um, but the defensive tackles, they played good. I mean, to me, uh, Cam Hayward was really, using that old man strength, and he was dominating. I mean, he was taking up blockers, and when you get Cam doing that, taking up blockers, that lets those linebackers run free and use their speed and do their thing. Benton had the best game, 5 tackles, a sack, and then from the defensive line, he ended up getting 11 tackles and a sack. And I want to say they had a fumble recovery too. I think Harmon had a fumble recovery. So I gave the defensive tackles, I gave them an A. I thought they played hard. They kept the linebackers clean. And like I say, when you see that and when they do that, that's when these linebackers can really you know, play their game, and you see they make plays. They make plays. Yep. So you're right. Them turnovers are huge. We need those turnovers, but any defense is like that. But definitely the Steelers, when the Steelers defense do not get turnovers, they have an issue. and they can't get teams off the field, and it just seemed like their defense is too based on getting turnovers. I mean, granted, everybody want to get turnovers, and that's what you teach your defense to do, but that's just not going to happen all the time. And I will agree, when the Steelers don't get turnovers, it seems like that this defense is not effective, and then that's not going to work. So, with that said, let's get back to it. Inside linebackers. Inside linebackers. So, inside linebackers. I gave these guys an A. I gave them an A because I really thought that they played well. I thought they played well. Peyton Wilson, 14 tackles, an interception, and then you got 18 tackles, one interception, and a forced fumble from the inside linebackers as a whole. And again, they play is reflected from the defensive line. When the defensive line is doing their thing, this is what you're going to get, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and I think Peyton Wilson probably should be the defensive player of the game to me. He was all over the place. 14 tackles, that's good. And like I say, with our inside linebackers, they're not very big guys. So when they can run free and don't have to fight off linemen, they can get the job done. The corners, to be honest, I really could have went a little lower on this grade because at the end of the day, and I know, a lot of that was garbage. You could say garbage time, but both of the receivers for the Colts had over 100 yards. I think both of them had 115, and they were giving it to them guys. I mean, to me, Joey Porter, come on, man. I mean, this guy. Porter reminds me. Porter doesn't trust his speed, and he doesn't trust his technique. So he's always in fear that somebody's about to run by him, and he just grabs. He holds, grabs, clutch, and I mean, you could tell the Colts had game plan that we're going after him. We're going after him from jump, and that's what they did. They darn near went down the field. They got a penalty on them, and Pierce was giving it to. I think that first drive, Pierce caught at least about 4 balls. But with that said, I mean, Porter, he had 8 tackles, he had 1 sack, and he had an interception. Because actually, I didn't see his sack, so I was thinking when I seen it, I was like, "Oh man, they sent him on the corner blitz." But then when I rewatched the game, it was just one of them deals where the quarterback was scrambling, and he was still behind the line of scrimmage, and Porter was the closest guy. And so they gave the sack to him, but he didn't really do nothing. But I thought Echols, for the most part, he held up okay. For what you expected from him, he was all right. So I gave the corners a B. Could have really went C because, like I say, you got 2 receivers going over 100. Quarterback threw for like 340, but also you do have to put in the fact that they were behind and they were throwing a lot to try to catch up. And believe it or not, the Colts had no running game, and that was my thing. That was really my biggest fear. I didn't think the Steelers were going to be able to stop Jonathan Taylor. And I thought he was going to run all over them, and they came out and focused on him, and they definitely took him out the game. The safeties, I gave those guys a B. I thought Jalen Ramsey, at this point, You're a safety, man. You are a free safety. And he was out there lowering the boom. I think he's gonna get a envelope from the league with a nice little fine for that one hit. But he was out there tattooing guys. Um, really not that many bus assignments. So you end up getting 9 tackles out of the safeties. The new guy Duggar, he played 78 out of 79 snaps for his first game. He only been with the Steelers for what, like 2 days, 3 days. So he's definitely starting strong safety at this point. So that's how we kind of looking on the defense. Um, I just think they just got to stay consistent and just keep it going, and we'll see what they do. So with the defense overall grade, I gave those guys a B. Um, you know, especially from the last 2 games they had, that is a major improvement for these guys. Um, really don't have too much complaints. Like I say, I just thought the corners were a little soft, but some of those stats were kind of misleading just for the fact that they were behind. The Colts were behind and was throwing almost every play to try to get something going. So sometimes you would get those inflated numbers there. Special teams was great. I mean, the Boz did his thing. I thought Wellman was punting well. He had some big punts, and you had the turnover when coach muffed the punt, and that set the Steelers up deep in the Colts territory. So special teams, I gave him an A. Boz was 3 for 3, extra points, 2 for 2 field goals, a long of 46. Williams had 5 punts. He averaged 50.4 yards a punt with a long of 67. So the coverage team did well. And like I said, they end up getting a turnover. So special teams, no problem there. I got an A. Let's go to the coaches. The coaches, offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. You got to run the ball, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you don't have no faith in your offensive line or what's going on. Is Aaron Rodgers changing all your running plays? I don't know, but you got to run the ball more than what you are. But like I say, I do understand. We would say you need to get more explosive and push the ball downfield a little bit more, but I kind of understand why they're not doing it. So, and that's more of a scheme thing. So I really can't say, hey man, you need to push the ball down the field a little more, because I really have a feeling why he's not doing it. But with that said, I gave old Arthur a C+. He really wasn't in his wheelhouse like he'd been a couple of times. Only 225 total yards, 61 plays. You only averaged 3.7 a play, which is kind of low. Rushing the ball, 23 attempts, 38 yards, 1.7 yards per carry. That ain't gonna get it done. 203 yards passing, 27 points. So I don't know. I mean, you had 6 turnovers, so you would think with 6 turnovers, you probably should be getting more than 27 points. Or did you just get to 27 points because of the 6 turnovers and really didn't do too much of nothing on offense? So I don't know, but I gave the offensive coordinator C+. The DC, wow. I mean, we were ready to get this guy ran out of town. The first team smoking out of Pittsburgh. I thought it seemed like they simplified the defense a little bit. Came up with a good, solid plan. Actually did some things that I thought confused Jones a little bit. And the defense played well. The defense played well, made some adjustments, and I gave Terrell Austin a B. Well, Terrell Austin, quote, quote, Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin, because they're both in the same. But I gave him a B. I mean, when you look at those numbers, gave up a lot of yards, a lot of plays, 74 plays. That's a lot of plays. 5 yards of plays, that's not too bad. You know, the 342 yards passing, like I say, some of that was probably inflated yards. 5 sacks, 6 turnovers, and that was huge. And I really think the 6 turnovers is probably what won this game. So with that said, you know, I gave Austin a B. And head coach, you know, Tomlin came up with a good plan. You know, the team came out motivated, and you know, they got a dub, and I gave him a B. So, you know, Tomlin doing what Tomlin do. He ended up losing a game that you would think that he may win, and then he ended up pulling out a game that you kind of almost thought that was going to definitely be a loss. That's Mike Tomlin. So, with that said, you know, I gave him a B, and that is really it. So, we'll see. The Steelers play Sunday against the LA Chargers. Oh yeah, let's go to the overall grade. Overall grade for the coaches, I gave him a C plus. And mostly with this, I just do the average. But I gave him a C plus because I thought the defense and Tomlin, they did their thing. But I just thought the offense was a little lackluster a little bit. But again, you know, that's a great improvement because the last 2 weeks they've been F minus. So you know, that's good, moving in the right directions. So with that said, that's it. So just make sure you like and subscribe. And Pittsburgh Steelers, they fly out to LA and play the Chargers on Sunday night. This is a game that, you know, the Chargers are going to challenge them a little bit, but the thing of it is the Chargers offensive line is a total wreck. So this is a game that I see the Pittsburgh Steelers should really be able to get after the quarterback, and they're going to need to because Herbert can make plays, but I just think TJ Watt and Highsmith and all them guys, I got a good feeling that they're going to be all over him, and you know, we'll see what happens. Let me see what Boxer Man said. I have finally found the Steelers' next head coach after scouting him for 2 years. Now he's the guy to me. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We gotta find out who that is. Who is that Boxing Man? You got to let us know. Don't keep it a secret. Yeah, you got to let us know who that guy is. But with that said, that's it. You guys take care. We'll be talking to you tomorrow because we got to do the ops. Then also we'll be on the not pump the brakes. I'm gonna say pump the brakes, but smash the gas with Big G and Tate, and we'll see what Big G, what he's talking about. I don't know if Big G gonna crash out because the Steelers didn't make any moves, but he kind of said they weren't. So I don't really think he'll be crashing out too much. But with that said, you guys take care, and I will talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.